who you think you are is not you. Sounds like a crazy thing to say. Wherever you are at in your spiritual journey, whether you have been in practice for many, many years, you're just beginning, or you're somewhere in the middle, I think one of the quickest or one of the biggest realizations is that you are not your thoughts and
Or your feelings.
or your feelings. And these are programs, blueprints created, given to you via society, your parents,
Your inputs.
yeah, whatever inputs
From
you
ages
have.
1 to 7, particularly. This is important to note. It's from ages 1 to 7 that you pick up all of your subconscious programming.
A lot of them. You're in a super neuroplastic state in theta where you're super receptive to new inputs, and it's shaping a lot of the foundational beliefs and programming in your mind. And actually, after a while, you end up literally just running an autopilot script of whatever those inputs are, and you get in these loops. And I think the first stage of awareness is realizing that those thoughts are not you.
Mm-hmm.
That story that's been playing is not actually you, that there's a you outside of that story. And once that happens, you can start to rewrite
Mm-hmm.
or detach from that story. And that's kind of the essence of what we're going to be talking about today.
Basically, yeah, if you change the story that you tell yourself, you change your life. It starts internally. When you change your internal subconscious programming, it reflects externally. And we'll also go through today why that seems so difficult to do and why it's so hard to change to begin with. Because if it was just like that, like, oh, I'm a changed person now, and everyone would be able to do that, and there wouldn't be so much resistance. So going to be touching on how to actually do that, and
rewrite your story.
yeah, and how to, because yeah, it's like, you know, it's hard to change when you don't know how to change.
Yeah, on multiple levels. So one, on, I don't know, we could use neuroscience, where in neuroscience, your brain, there's these particular pathways or these neurons that fire together, and they create these connections that wire together. And the more you think a thought, the stronger those connections become, those pathways become, until they're the automatic thoughts that happen. They estimate that essentially 90% of your thoughts, up to 90% of your thoughts, could be the same today as they were the day before. So essentially you just keep thinking the same thing, same thing, same thing. And so there's a process called pruning, which is essentially not taking the same pathways or thinking the same thoughts and starting to write new ones.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the resistant barriers, that essentially your brain wants to go the easiest pathway, the pathways that are the strongest, that have the strongest connections. So it wants to think the same thoughts over and over and over again. So first, the practice of even being aware that those thoughts are happening so that you can interrupt it and stop that process. And then once you're aware, the ability to start writing new pathways, new neural pathways. You could say in terms of neuroscience, in terms of habits, we get in these habitual patterns. Our body and our brain are energy-saving mechanisms. We don't want to waste a bunch of energy, so we build these pattern loops, these like habit loops that you, once it realizes you're doing the same thing over and over again, it just takes over and does it for you, so you don't have to cognitively be aware of it.
Autopilot.
Autopilot.
Mm-hmm.
And so that creates this level of momentum that's really hard to get out of and break for a while, which is why they say, and there's a bunch of mixed studies on this, but like 21 days to develop a new habit, because you're essentially having to interrupt your current habit,
Autopilot, yeah.
and then build a new one.
Yeah.
The practice of being. And then the other one is the story. You have a strong story that you tell yourself, and humans want to keep the identification that we have. That's like the thing we want to hold on to the most, is how or who we identify with, and we will do everything to maintain that story that we tell ourselves.
Mm-hmm. And in a way, too, even if these emotions are bad for us or not serving us or our highest, there
the other
are
one's the emotional level. So
yeah, there's a part of our body that's actually addicted to thinking and feeling and being in this way because it's been doing it for so long. So the emotional body is actually addicted to that chemical reaction in the body. It almost wants to do it at the same time every single day. And
It's like getting your coffee fix. Every
yeah,
emotion releases a whole host of chemicals that your body gets addicted to.
even if it's like anxiety, I used to identify with I'm an anxious person. I don't like this. I can't go on airplanes because they make me nervous. I can't do this. And there were so many limiting beliefs in my body and in my mind that I identified with, and that was me. That was just who I was. I couldn't change. Didn't believe that I could change. And when I started meditating, I got that awareness for the first time that, oh wow, I'm not my thoughts.
Yeah.
And I'm actually not even the feelings in my body. And the reason why these thoughts are so powerful and the subconscious beliefs are so powerful is because they're connected, obviously, to a very deep feeling inside somewhere in your body. Specifically, I always feel it in my stomach. You always feel it usually in your head or your heart.
Yeah, there can be specific places that your body stores these emotions. And that's a whole nother video to go into. But essentially, every feeling has a chemical expression. Some feelings we are actually resistant to, even though we're addicted to those feelings, we're also resistant at the same time to that addiction, which is crazy.
The body's addicted to it, but the mind is resistant to it. And that the
Yeah.
resistance is what keeps it there.
So it stops. You'll actively stop. It'll come up, and then you'll block it and stop it. And where that energy gets held is different in different people's bodies, but you can start to become aware that you'll have energy kind of stuck in the same places. There's, a variety of different philosophies on this, but essentially energy flows throughout the body, and there can be particular points that you almost knot up or you trap, and energy can't fully flow through there. It doesn't move or get released. It gets stuck there, and that can create physical ailments and pain and a variety of other things as well when you trap that energy. Yeah.
So the main question is then, how do you change? How do you change that story and start living in that new being with new feelings, thoughts? And it's really hard to change because when we pick up those thoughts and those belief systems is when our minds are in theta brainwaves, which is the state that our minds are in from ages 1 to 7. And then after age 7, our brainwaves are no longer in the sponge state, the receptive, taking on suggestion state.
Yeah, they usually shift to a more beta brainwave state, which is more focused. Focused in a more hyperactive way. It's usually associated to the sympathetic mode, where you're less resting, less digesting, less receptive, more
Alert.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
That's
we're
the word.
in that brainwave state most of our time during being an adult. So to be able to bring your brainwave state back down to theta, the same state where you picked up all of this subconscious programming, is to meditate. And by doing so, by calming your body, relaxing it, completely turning off all of your senses and going inward, you can slow your brainwaves back down. And then when they're back in that state, you can input new belief systems, new thought patterns, new ways of thinking about life, and even new feelings in your body. And the more that you practice that, the more that network gets hardwired and installed into your mind and body, and it can rewrite the script that your mind is running off of.
Yeah. You create a shift in states to a more receptive one via meditation. You close down your senses so that you're not reacting to the old story, reflection of the old story, and become aware of what the old story even is and what those thoughts and habits are. And then you can start to re-input or rewire a new story and create a new story and start living out a new story. It is a process that happens over time, the pruning of the old and the resistance of the old and allowing it to come up.
Mm-hmm.
But it is powerful when you start to see the results of shifting that story, because you start to realize that everything in your life is a reflection of that story. Our brains will essentially, via cognitive biases, work to validate and look for whatever things or situations it can to validate the story it tells itself. So it's kind of wild. Once you start to shift that story internally, your external world starts to reflect that story as well, which is kind of a wild thing.
Mm-hmm. Basically, your ego is not a bad thing. And to define ego, it just means who you think you are. So your story, the story you tell yourself, what you identify as, that's your ego. And the ego, I mean, a lot of the time you hear from a lot of people to kill off the ego. But it's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, we all, unless you're a monk living in the Himalayas, meditating 24/7, like we all have an ego. We all have an identity of who we think we are. And you're able to change that. And to have awareness and recognize even the resistance that comes up in your current, who you think you are, ego. When I say that, if there is resistance that comes up, because I remember almost trying to fight it and trying to get rid of it, and being so resistant to it, but it doesn't get removed from being resistant to it or trying to fight it. It's like the first process in meditation, realistically, is calming your body down through breath work. The second is becoming aware of the thoughts and all of the feelings running throughout your body and allowing them to be there. And then the third, when your brainwave state eventually reaches alpha or theta, theta being more able to input those belief systems and actually
more receptive.
Receptive. And then you can rewrite it, but it's kind of like, it's kind of a process we go through first, because at first you can see all of that happening inside your mind and body, but like you're resistant. There's a part of your ego that's even resistant to watching it. It's like you're resistant to you.
There's what you resist persists, and so when you try to get rid of the old story, you essentially cling on to it. Whatever you're resistant to persists. So the stage is becoming aware of the story that's there, allowing that story to be there, but without identifying to it the old story, and then simultaneously starting to create a new story or identification. You start shifting the identification or story you have as your ego. There's a lot of, the deeper you go down, a lot of teachers will tell you the process of completely removing and killing the ego, which is, the further you go down, you start to realize that maybe there isn't one individual perspective that you as a being are. But in the meantime, we do play on this physical plane, so identifying, the first step of playing around with characters and seeing how agile the identity or ego actually is, and it's all reliant on this story that collapses that perspective into a single time. Mm-hmm. Then I think that's one of the stages, I think, in realizing that you are essentially all of them. but the fluidity at first, I think, is important to be able to experience that you can shift stories or identification, and it's not reliant on the one.
I think when you get into that brainwave state of theta again, and you're just existing in space as nothing and everything at the same time, which, I mean, I'm sure some of you who are watching have experienced that, and some of you haven't experienced that yet. When you do experience that, essentially that is death of the ego, because you're no longer in
Yeah,
yourself.
the ego is the story, or the I,
Yeah.
what you identify with.
You're no longer in the awareness of your thoughts and feelings. You're in the awareness of the space, and every single thing around you is you. So it's, yeah, quite a crazy thing. I mean, like I said yesterday, like I had to lose myself to find myself. And upon losing myself and giving it all up, I found out that I was so much more than what my tiny little line of vision thought I was.
Yeah, identified
before.
with. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like you create this story, you collapse yourself into that one story, and then
That one story has to keep creating and manifesting
a lot of times you
externally.
don't even create the story, it's like given to you.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Generational.
This video, I think, is a little bit, we touched on a lot, very information dense. If you have any questions, please comment down below. This is something we're writing about, so we've been working on over the last 6 years in our personal journey, and we've been writing a book that's going to come out, kind of expansion on all this, and a much more maybe tangible way that we can expand on it. But
yeah, a very structured and clear, tangible way on all of this.
Yeah.
Because
the
we're
steps that we
essentially
took through as we went through that journey.
exactly everything we've learned and everything we would tell our past selves to help them and guide them through this journey, because it's a lot of information at first.
Yeah.
But it's something that made us super excited learning this stuff, because it's almost like the logical mind needed to be convinced of this before going into the surrender and into the awareness and the meditation. Like for you and I, that's why we resonated really well with Dr. Joe's teachings, is because it convinces the logical mind first, and it like I needed that. So
Yeah, I mean, I think at first my perspective of spirituality in general was a lot of woo-woo or like esoteric ideas that didn't have a lot of practicality. And first starting the journey and immediately starting to see maybe physical benefits to it as almost like a selfish first understanding of the physical fruits, benefits of it, I think were really important in kind of the starting of that journey. And then the progression through, allowing the mind to understand and work with you instead of being a resistant piece to the journey is really helpful. So
because there's a big part of it where we were like, we didn't like the mind, or we were really resistant to the mind and wanted to completely exist without. But the mind is a tool.
Yeah, it's a beautiful tool. It's a terrible master.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. It's just knowing how to use the tool to your highest and to the benefit of you and others and the planet and the earth. It's using it for good, not letting it use you. It's becoming the creator of your reality rather than believing you're the victim of your circumstances. It's like, it's making that shift. For me, it was making that shift.
True. Yeah, so if you're interested or have any questions wherever you are on the current journey, we're there with you. Let us know down below. We love your comments. And then if you want to be updated when we release the book, information is down below as well. We're really excited to have that out. And
I know we're writing every night.
It's like what we wish we had in the start of our journey, but, through the progression. But
well, it's wild because like a lot of the journey felt really. I mean, it was just you and me together, but we kind of felt very lonely in it, as if nobody else understood what we were experiencing. So we want to build a community of beautiful people who can all be on this journey
that
together.
You're not alone going through, because a lot of stuff can be kind of wild getting into. But
and we're still on the journey too. I think it's never
it's a
ending.
constant progression, exploration and curiosity keeps getting more and more magical, which is beautiful.
Yeah, we learn something new all the time.
Yeah.
So
with that said, we love you. Let us know if you have any questions, and
Mwah.
we'll see you next time.